Good morning. This is Steve Hoffacker. Welcome to another one of our webinar series, our professional webinar series. We put these together 2, 3, 4 years ago to provide an hour of continuing education for those who can use it for occupational therapy, physical therapy, your CAPS, interior design, whatever you feel that you can use the continuing education for free. Now, a lot of continuing education classes, several that I offer, are fee-based, but this is an opportunity to give back. So we say we charge and we charge. Now, this is free, so enjoy. And we every time we present some noted speakers in their field, different topics, sometimes products, sometimes technique. Today, Ellen Belk, who has been with us, I think, Ellen, this is your third time, but a
I think so.
dementia specialist. It's got a lot, even new stuff to share with you today. So looking forward to it. Next month, we have Sugasuni Hardware coming back, I think, for the third time. They did the very first webinar with us back when that was. So anyway, we're looking forward to that next month. So mark your calendars and check on that. Without further ado, we will turn the program over to Ellen. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve, and thanks to those of you that have taken time out of your day to join us today. I'm going to be very content rich. I just want you to know that. I will do the best I can to stay in time, but I will not be offended if you do have to jump off. As Steve indicated, this is my third time, and although I'm just going to although my specialty is in dementia care operations and advocacy, and the previous two times I've been with Steve, I've done a little deeper dive into the dementia portion where I really went into the weeds on what type of dementia creates a certain dynamic and how that can be impacted in the living environment. For today, and I'll tell you why as we move along, there's just so much movement happening. When I mean movement, I mean innovation and new voices and new people entering the design build space in long-term living, that I'm involved in all kinds of things. And so I'm in regards to helping reimagine long-term living environments. And so I'm really excited as this year progresses to be collaborating with some architects and developers that are trying to build a new mousetrap in terms of long-term living. But that being said, so some of you might be people that go into, Steve mentioned that there's all different kinds. You could have any type of background, and I'm just a fan of people who are just lifelong learners that just, you might be retired and you just like to learn and you come. So all are welcome. But today I will be talking much more about the build environment and the why behind how we can create a comforting dementia care environment. But please understand also, I will be speaking about aging bodies in general. Not every single thing I talk about today will only apply to dementia. As you will see as we move forward, I will be making commentary about just if you're overseeing or working with clients, or you yourself are just an ager, you're an active ager and you want to stay and age in place in your own home, in your own dwelling, this is the place for you. So let's move forward so I can tell you what my objectives are here today. Again, I'm going to, on the front end, and remember, I have done a little deeper dive of it, as I've indicated already, into the various types of dementia. And when we've gone deeper into that, Steve did assure me that those presentations still live. They are evergreen on his YouTube channel. So I've asked him to share that in the comment section. One thing I will say, Steve, I'm not going to look at comments. So if anyone raises a hand or if you just interject and cut me off. You and I have done this before. Just let me know if anyone has a question. But he'll also, I'm assuming, put his YouTube channel in the chat as well. So if you need more of a mini masterclass, if you will, on the type of dementias and how do we get to those diagnoses, please visit Steve's YouTube channel. But I am going to spend a little time on the front end, not going into the different types necessarily, but I'm going to make a case as we begin our time together today on the importance of getting a proper diagnosis of whatever cognitive changes that you are seeing, either in those that you care for, those that you're responsible for, a spouse, a partner, yourself. I will talk about the importance of that on the front end, so be prepared for that. I also am going to touch base on my top areas of concern within any living environment. whether it's a home environment, whether it's a professional setting. Believe me, even the pros don't do it right. That's why I'm really starting to branch off now and work with developers and architects. And I'll tell you about myself in a second for those that don't know me, because even the build environments that charge you many, many thousands of dollars don't always get the build environment right. Trust and believe. So sometimes it's easier to talk to people who want to age in place in their own home because you're more motivated to make some tweaks and make some adjustments for you or anyone that you serve or that you are responsible for to age in place in a positive, nurturing way. And I'm also going to throw in product ideas and suggestions. I'm not on how to make some upgrades. I'm not sponsored by anything. I'm not even going to necessarily tell you anything about brand names. I'm going to be this is going to be a very picture heavy. I am a prove it with picture kind of a presenter, especially on this topic. And so I will be showing you a lot of pictures today, and hopefully that will give you, those of you who like me, who are visual learners, that will help you as well. So just be prepared for all of that. You're always welcome to raise your hand, and Steve will interrupt me if you have a question. If I go too fast on something, I'm high energy. I'm incredibly passionate about the work that I do, and I just always love the opportunity to speak to Steve's tribe. So just know that you cannot insult me by stopping me and asking a question. But let's just get going. I'm just going to not speak over this. I made this very quick. So here I am, and you can read right there for yourself the very brief description of who I am. You will see my logo in the bottom of this slide. I am the founder of Keep in Mind Incorporated. Keep in Mind is the name of the company. Again, if you think how smart and sassy I am, that's someone who is an expert in dementia. Obviously, Keep in Mind, get it? But I have a website. When you look it up, I have stuff at the end. You can QR code scan. You can find me. I'm not on Facebook. I am not a social media maven. But because I find that there's way too many people giving false information in those spaces. And with my 25 years in actual hands-on care with multiple thousands, we're talking 5 digits of residents that I have served and laid hands on or trained the employees that do lay hands on the residents. I am a boots in the ground gal in operations within long-term living, as well as I am in my technically, I'm actually in my 25th year. I've actually been a family caregiver even longer than I have been. It's 24 years. I've been in the senior housing environment, in operations, and in managing and overseeing and developing dementia, part of the dementia part of all these portfolios that I've worked for. So you will see briefly on the left side, that is a picture of me many years ago when I could still jump and do splits in the air like that in my family's, my parents. That was their condo back in Wisconsin. Those of you who were early enters into this, you heard us talking a little bit on the front end. If you joined us before the time it started, I'm originally from Wisconsin, born and raised. This was my parents' condo at the later stages of their life. My mother is still with us. My dad's journey is over, but this was a great picture that my husband and I were there visiting them in Wisconsin at this time of this picture. And I always share this picture because I am so passionate about the work that I do, advocating and training the professionals that are responsible for doing the work in a long-term setting. But I'm also incredibly passionate about showing real life in a family caregiving setting. You see my mom is laughing, my dad is giggling, we're having a great laugh to the point where I did a jump, because whatever we were talking about and laughing about at the time, my husband captured that picture. That's my husband that took this picture. Why do I share this, and why am I spending time on it? At this juncture where this picture was taken, my father was already couple of years into his dual diagnosis of Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's. And these are moments that our family were still able to have. It was our goal at that time. It always was. It's another reason why I speak very fervently about my family, living in family dwellings. And of course, I've worked for 25 years operationally inside long-term living settings as well. both have their struggles and both can be problematic, but I am a Gen Xer and I am planning on trying to age in place friendly. And at the time when my dad, he was 82 when we got that diagnosis. This picture was at about his age, about around 84. Our goal, when I say our goal in this case with that picture, with my mom was his primary, she was his wife, they lived in this home. I was a long distance secondary. And it was our goal, mom and I's goal, to keep dad as safely in this home that they shared for as long as possible. So everything that, you know, you'll hear me talk about that as families, as professionals, whatever, we have to, especially families, if you're trying to age in place, you need to have a very clear-cut goal. What is our goal? Are we only trying to get grandma here for the next 6 months before we find a place for her? Okay, that's your goal. Are we trying to, you know, if you have whatever your goal is, we can only handle, we don't have the money, we have to do this forever, whatever motivates your goal. Our goal was to get dad in the loving care of his wife with me as the backup till the end of his journey. And we got almost there. We got almost there. The last 3 weeks of his life, he did move into a memory care community, which was 1 mile from the front door of this place. Mom had to, they were both in their 80s. She was 87 at the time of his death, and she did need to make the final decision to move him, and he lasted 3 weeks. Once he was separated from his beloved of 62 years, I think his journey was, you know, his journey was over. Fast forward to my mom now, she still exists. This picture on the right-hand side was her taken last year at 95. And when this picture was taken, she was living in a luxury. She then moved here. I live in South Carolina. I had her move closer to me. She knew that that was what needed to happen. Dad's journey ended in 86. Excuse me, 1996. Nope, just lied again. 2006. Sorry, excuse me. You know, at least I know I'm making a mistake, Steve. That means I don't have dementia because I know what I don't know. Little fun fact for everyone who worries about forgetting things. When you don't know, that's okay. Healthy brain. But dad's life journey, and this is probably the fourth time I'm going to say it, it actually ended in 2016. So dad's life journey at the age of 86 ended in 2016. It wasn't until the global pandemic that made my mother realize she needed to move closer to me. So in the midst of a pandemic, my beautiful mother, Millie, then made the decision. So I sold her home from long distance, moved her across the country into a community that was on total lockdown. And that's how that journey began. And this was her on her 95th birthday last year. She already had some cognitive decline in this image. She had frontal lobe deterioration. And fast forward to present day, she just turned 96 in January. But unfortunately, a stroke last year has kind of given her short-term memory issues. So I am in still full-blown family caregiving mode, proud and happy to do it. If not me, I'm not sure who else would do it, but she does live now in a different location once the stroke happened. The place we were spending a lot of money on, I'm going to be very transparent because that's why I do what I do, because I'm transparent and trying to help other people navigate the journey. The day of her stroke, she was making, we were paying $66,200 for an assisted living apartment. This was her apartment. She got dressed. This is not the day it happened, but on the day of her stroke in May of just, you know, May of 2024, she got dressed for the day. She went down to the dining room, and while in the dining room, had a stroke, and everything significant changes happened after that. And all of a sudden, the place where she'd lived for almost 4 years, and paying a good amount of money, and she was quite independent. The second she needed some actual help that was going to, you know, put a little bit of a strain on the family, on the caregivers there, rather, I saw the writing on the wall. And now, in the midst of a hurricane, if you all were paying attention in September of last year here in the Carolinas, in the midst of a hurricane, I moved her to a new location, a smaller operation owned by a family, and she gets a lot more personal care for a $10,000 price tag. So I only share all that to say, you know, it's expensive. So ergo, try to age in place as long as you can, because they're not building and allowing people to live anywhere for free. And so that, and I am still, even at that price point, I'm at the end of this session with you today, I will still be going over to see her, because your caregiving, my caregiving just doesn't end. I'm incredibly involved. So that's enough about my background. First things first, though, as we move forward, I said I wanted to kind of make a case for the importance of getting a diagnosis when cognitive decline is present. And we're just going to continue forward. You need to know what you don't know. And let's see what that looks like here. So often, and I again, please know I could literally talk to you people for till dinner time tonight, and I wouldn't miss a beat. I'm so passionate about this topic. And if any of you are in positions to want me to talk to your group or your parish or your women's coffee clutch, whatever, we can always talk. You can always reach out to me, because I am on a mission. If you saw on that first slide, I am on a mission to elevate the global dementia IQ. Dementia, the word dementia is not the diagnosis. Again, I'm not going to spend as much time. This playback will be available. These slides will be available. Dementia, for the purpose of this conversation, let me just rewind that. So often you might say it, I hear people, and again, remember, this is my life. So I get triggered by a lot, because I just feel that we have done an awful job as practitioners, as an industry. I'm one girl, so I speak to as many people as I can, virtually and in person, however it needs to happen. But as an industry, as an aged care industry, we have not done a good marketing job on ensuring that the public understands what dementia is. And I am a breast cancer survivor as well. And cancer, the word cancer and the word dementia are both what we call, as the slide the slide here indicates, that dementia is an umbrella term. In this case, it's used to differentiate or to group different conditions and symptoms. These are these little raindrops that are falling out of this umbrella, from Alzheimer's disease to Korsakoff syndrome, Down syndrome dementia. I've taken care of residents with that journey. You've got, normal pressure hydrocephalopathy, cephalopathy. Oh my gosh, for heaven's sakes, forgive me. When you talk for a living, sometimes even I can't put the words. Vascular dementia, frontotemporal deterioration. I mentioned my mom had that prior to now. It's weirdly, the stroke literally changed molecules. She doesn't have she's not exhibiting like she was the frontal lobe deterioration like she was pre-stroke, but the stroke now has completely decimated, for lack of a better word, her short-term memory. Mercifully, she still knows who I am, and that feel so grateful for. But dementia is an umbrella term. And again, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and please hear me when I tell you, when I got that diagnosis, ladies, get your annual, it was discovered in that. I was not being treated at the pancreatic cancer specialty clinic. Everyone that touched me, that dealt with me, that worked with me, that cared for me, specialized in breast cancer. I was very confident through my whole journey in that I'm 3 years past that now. Dementia is not the diagnosis. We have not done a good job. People think forgetfulness is normal. Sure. Me having some word issues, you forgetting something. Everyone talks about it, when you forget your car keys, you've got dementia. Here's the deal, guys. If you hear me say this, please know it to be true. If you know that you've lost your car keys, you don't have dementia. You understand that you've lost something and you're searching for it. When the cognition becomes so bad that people will now think that you stole their car or you've stolen their car keys, that is not a logical brain. That's something to be a little more looked into. So dementia is not the diagnosis. And again, it matters in the long run, because just like as a breast cancer survivor, mercifully, no one sent me to the colorectal cancer, location, or the pancreatic. I was treated by people that knew how to treat my type of cancer. I will also bust this myth. And again, I'm going to keep moving forward, but this is just like a public service announcement, because it does become as to understanding that you don't just take cognitive decline or cognitive changes in your brain, in those that you care for and those that you love, it is worth investigating. It's worth investigating, and it doesn't always mean you have dementia. So we're going to talk about that. That is one thing I want to leave with you. But it is something that we do need to try to find what the root cause is and why. Let's talk about why that is. Because and so I'm asking you to just be a strategic advocate for getting the proper diagnosis. There's far too many primary doctors that say possible dementia. Okay, even if somebody is saying that out loud to you, a physician, that's worthy of further investigation. It may not be dementia, but it's not just a normal part of aging. So we want to understand, we want to get a proper diagnosis for why I'm losing things more frequently, and I'm not remembering that I'm losing. Someone has to bring it to my attention. These are not normal parts of aging. Another thing we need to remember now on the front end, if you saw my slide, I do lead with that I am a holistic dementia care solutions expert. That is a title that I gave myself after being in the field for probably I did that about year 15, because I was at one point in 2011, which is when I launched my company, keep in mind. Prior to that, I had been a divisional director for several years for a company, a well-known company called Atria Senior Living. And in that role, I was a dementia, I was only supporting the dementia side of some of our buildings in our portfolio. I had 24 buildings that I was responsible for, made sure that we were doing the work the right way. I was training people, onboarding, everything related to how we do the dementia operations at that time. 24 buildings in an 11-state territory. And in that time period, I realized, and make no mistake, when people were calling Ellen Belk to come and do more training, come help us solve a problem, I wasn't coming to parties. I was always being called every week. I was solving problems as to why certain residents were trying to jump out of windows, which by the way is a thing I've dealt with. A person living with cognitive decline, with dementia in a secured memory area, wanting to get out of that place so bad that they were willing to jump out of a window. Literally has happened. Those are the headlines that people tend not to want to see. But that to me, it was in that era. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to say that there were things in the environment that were creating distress, significant confusion, more things than we can talk about now. But there are no drugs. Let's get through this slide and take a picture of it if you want. But none of the pharmacological medication treatments available today for Alzheimer's disease dementia, just that one. The one thing that you hear about when people say, oh, my grandma has Alzheimer's and dementia. I think my dad has Alzheimer's and dementia. You're not saying that right. It's not Alzheimer's and dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the #1 type of diagnosed dementia. And there is no medication, even Aricept, which has now become it's been on the market long enough. It's really the only true med that was created for the slowing of it's slowing, but it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop the damage to the neurons, which is where all the issues are happening in Alzheimer's dementia, Alzheimer's disease dementia. There are also, the second one is really important. It's why it's in orange, because there's so many other types of dementia you can have. There are no drugs specifically approved by the FDA to treat behavioral and psychiatric symptoms that may develop not only within, for sure, this slide says severe stages of Alzheimer's disease, but there's a lot of different types of dementia. Frontal lobe, most notably, frontotemporal lobe dementia is a type. Lewy body, what my dad has. There are psychological that come across as they are psychiatric patients. My dad had hallucinations. What did they do? They threw Seroquel on that guy. The exact opposite thing you should do to somebody with a Lewy body dementia is to give them a psychotropic medication. Again, we're not going to go, this is why, if you really love your person and you want to advocate for your person, you need to know what you don't know. You need to know that psychiatric drugs are not necessarily a good solution for someone with a progressive degenerative cognitive issue, not a psychiatric issue. It's far too many doctors go straight to it. Haldol, Trazodone, Seroquel. If these are names that you recognize, check the warning signs on the packaging. They have black box warnings that these are not approved options to treat dementia symptoms, and moreoverly, they shave years off the life of the person with dementia because they're doing more harm than good. Again, I'm not saying that it doesn't work in some cases. If this is working for you and your loved one, then do what, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you the background that they're not approved. You absolutely can go off label, but that's a decision that you need to make. And I want to make sure you have all the proper information. Did you know that there are reversible types of dementia? Dementia symptoms, not dementia. Let me just clarify that. If you get to a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, Korsakoff syndrome dementia, Lewy body dementia, when you do get that diagnosis, you're not going to go backwards. It will not. As of right now, there are no cures for any of these progressive types of dementia. However, you also need to know, which is why today's time together is so important, about maintaining a nurturing care environment, because you could have years of living with your loved one, or you personally living with cognitive decline. My dad got that diagnosis. He got the dual diagnosis at the age of 82. He lived for 4.5, almost, like I told you, for 4.5 more years. He lived successfully in that wonderful home that he and my mom shared, because we dementia friendlied it up. Many of the things I used to show pictures about their home. I'm not going to do that in today's, but again, if you go back and look, you will see how I dementia friendlied up their home, so that, because our goal was to ensure that dad stayed in his home safely and as long as possible during his journey. It was just those last 3 weeks of his life that he had to go into the professional setting. But there are reversible dementia symptoms that kind of mimic. So here's a list. Please screenshot this if you'd like to know right now. But here, these are symptoms that are not dementia. And again, we won't go through every single thing. This will be made available later. I do want to get to the environment stuff, but there will be people that have dementia-like symptoms. They might have some depression, some delirium, but they won't have the progressive brain changes of Alzheimer's disease or other degenerative brain diseases, like all the other raindrops that were under that umbrella. Those are all progressive degenerative dementia, types of dementia that will ultimately, may not be the exact thing that's on your death certificate, but they will get you towards the end of your life. Sometimes at the end of life, as people are, especially in Alzheimer's disease, if they are bedridden for many months, then of course maybe pneumonia sets in. But they wouldn't have died of pneumonia if they didn't have Alzheimer's disease. That makes sense? So again, any questions, Steve, just please you can stop me, but I'm gonna keep motoring through until you just cut me off.
Good stuff. Keep going.
So again, you see some of the causes of dementia-like symptoms here. Like we've already, I've touched on it: depression, delirium, dehydration. I've done it. I've got it. I do an entire presentation just on the importance of avoiding dehydration. If you already have a sense of thirst, like, oh gosh, I'm thirsty, guess what? You're already dehydrated. It is so important, especially as our bodies age. I'm in my 50s. As we age, I never leave home. I will drink maybe 6 of these today alone. Because I'm hyper vigilant about staying hydrated, so that I don't have cognitive issues due to dehydration. But it's so important as we age to have to remain hydrated. Another thing that comes along with dehydration in aging bodies, anyone know? Say it with me, especially if you're a woman. UTIs, urinary tract infections. The worst thing that you want to have happen, especially if you don't diagnose it, you could also have some cognitive challenges. So you don't have dementia, you were dehydrated, which led to a UTI scenario that went on far too long without being diagnosed. Do you realize how many older adults are hospitalized due to UTI that started with dehydration? All things that are could be rectified and changed, and it doesn't have to happen as long as um, maintain these areas, and therefore you won't have the forgetfulness that comes along with undiagnosed and untreated dehydration, the foggy brain, possibly unsteady gait, because now you might have some the foggy brain might cause other situations. So you need to know that dementia is not the final diagnosis, but you also need to know that there are things that happen in aging bodies that left untreated could mimic dementia. And once you clear up these situations, you get hydrated, you remain hydrated, you treat your untreated sleep apnea. Guess what? You're back and healthy, and your brain is ticking like a 16-year-old going to prom. You can clear that up. It's very important for us to know that, again, because everyone's freaked out about the brain. And I get it. It's not ideal when you actually do have the diagnosis. But I'll leave you with this in regards to once you get the diagnosis, you do want to know what diagnosis you have so that you can be treated appropriately. You do want to also know that when my dad got the Lewy body dementia and dual Parkinsonian undercurrent, he was a dual diagnosed person. He didn't die 3 days later. He didn't become forgetful and we were feeding him out of a tube. None of that happened. He was eating on his own up until his last dying breath. So there's years of window that you have. These are slow progressive degenerative brain diseases options. The only thing that is slightly different is young onset, what we call young onset Alzheimer's disease. And what differentiates that is if you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, you get that official diagnosis under the age of 65. You still have years, supposedly. It just, you might shave off about 5 of those years. So instead of having 10 or 15 years of living with Alzheimer's disease, someone who gets it at the age of 55, they might only have maybe 10 years. Now, nothing is absolute. Everything can ebb and flow. But what I'm trying to do is bust all the myths that everyone doesn't want to talk about dementia. We don't want to know what kind of thing we have. We think it's normal. None of that is good because you're actually hastening your demise by not treating and setting yourself up for success. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna move on. Here's the other thing, especially after what we've lived through in from 2020 to 2024 in terms of having a virtually lockdown world for far too long. Depression has become a health issue for many older adults, very healthy older adults. But look at the orange again, 60 to 80% of individuals with a dementia, living with a dementia, also do have depression. That doesn't surprise me as someone that spent 24 years in the field, being in these environments and working firsthand, hand to hand with my friends, I call them, who I've been privileged to serve over the years. It's hard to have dementia. It's hard to be in a confined, it's hard to live in long-term living with dementia as well, because, you're not surrounded by the familiarity of your actual home that you remember as a youngster throughout most of your life, the houses that you lived in. You're in a more of a clinical setting, if you will. They might be beautiful. They might have Tiffany lamps in the lobby, but they're still not home, right? And so it is easy to have dementia. Excuse me, it is easy to have depression as your brain is going into atrophy. You do start to become more withdrawn, especially also if you're living alone. If you've got that neighbor that doesn't open their curtains, they never come out, and they come out in their house coat, at dinner time to grab the mail and go back inside. They don't want to be outside. Yeah, that's not a great way to age in place. So we do need to, we need people to live. You want to be able to live out loud in your home for as long as possible. But please understand that depression is a secondary byproduct. It could be its own diagnosis. And once you treat, and this might need medication if you are an older person that doesn't have cognitive decline, but you have a depression for however long that's gone undiagnosed. Once you get that treated, you absolutely can notice that the brain fog clears up. These are just statistical things that we know to be true. So depression, especially in advanced ages, like that last bullet point says, if you have a happy-go-lucky elder that's in their 70s and 80s, but now all of a sudden grandpa's not coming over to your house for holidays anymore, he's remaining more isolated, he's not calling you, he's not the jokester that he used to be. Again, a very good place to start in a change of personality like that with an older body is to do a depression screening. Because once we decide, oh, you know what, grandpa's it's been a little rough these last several years, he's had some hearing issues, and maybe we get that fixed, we get the depression managed, boom, grandpa's back in action. He's the good old jovial guy that you remember. So again, cognitive changes could also be for something very, very manageable, like making sure the person does have the proper medication or the proper interventions for depression-like symptoms that also can mimic cognitive decline. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get going. Any thoughts, any questions that I need to address at this point, Steve?
We're good.
So everything, when I put it large and in bold, the best time to think about how to age in place is before you need a lot of care, whether you have cognitive decline or not. Let's try to do it before you break the hip and then you're laid up in the hospital. I'm in my 50s. We've already aged in place. My husband and I have raised toilet seats, and I don't mean we don't have the bars on either side yet. I will put those in if we need it, but we have elevated. We don't have the standard commodes in all of our bathrooms. We have the elevated, because as you will see in a second, why that's important. But here again, in a recent University of Michigan poll, 88% of people between the ages of 50 to 80 say they wish to age in place. Raise your hand. If you're in this cohort group, if you're between the ages of 50 and 80, or you're involved with caring or being responsible for somebody in this age group, isn't it quite true? We don't want to live in the places that they've built around the country for all of us, that they say we must move in and have this lifestyle that they tell us is going to be so wonderful. I want to age in place as well. And in my 50s already, we have made modifications to our home that have already set us up for success. Safety, safety, safety is the key when you want to age in place, especially in a home dwelling, a personal home dwelling where there's life treasures, there's all kinds of tchotchkes and things that we've added to our living environment that we've lived in. So how often, think about your grandma who's lived somewhere in her home with stairs and a basement for 60 years. She can't go downstairs, she can't go upstairs, but she's not moving. Safety, these are environments that we have to make sure we are at least doing the best we can with what we've got to ensure safety. And this is a true statistic. This slide was part of a presentation I did last year here in South Carolina at a senior center that asked me to speak to their active adult aging learners. And that's when I found this statistic. So this was from last year, and I got it off the Centers for Disease Control website. Every second of every day, an older adult age 65 or older suffers a fall in the United States. Think of how long that's already been going on since we've been on this time together. I went back just to be sure I was still on par. I went getting prepared for this presentation, and the statistics still exist. And 1 in 4, so again, 1 in 4 older adults will fall each year in the United States, making falls a public health concern. Now, you don't hear about this. We don't get commercials on this telling us to modify our homes. We get all the drug commercials if you watch TV, but we don't get this importance about alerting people, educating people on how to be safe living in their own home. Wonder why that is. No one's found a way to make good money off of that yet, apparently. But here we go. We're going to talk right now about movement challenges and creating a safe and secure and nurturing environment. And again, this last bullet, but right now we're just going to focus on movement for these next few slides, and because safety from trying to not falling. I mean, I see fall risks everywhere. I see them at the grocery store. I mean, there's every place needs to be age in place friendly. Do you all know, though, also, by the way, I'm just going to sidebar, in just a few years, by the year 2030, so what is that, 5 years, 6 years, 5 years, do the math. in 5 years from this moment, the entire baby boomer generation will be over the age of 65. Why we have not dementia friendly or aged friendly every grocery store, every bank. I mean, you have a loved one with dementia and try to go to the bank with them, which I've done with both mother and father, and realizing how it's like you take for granted the 6 stairs you go to get into the bank when you have somebody with movement and cognitive issues and aging bodies, and the you have to go all halfway around the building to get to the ramp. I mean, it's insane. But yet our entire boomer generation in just 5 years will all be over the age of 65. And I'm not saying they're all going to have dementia. I'm just saying they're aging. And so along with aging comes movement issues and other things that can slow us down and change how we live in our environment. So what we want is to continue to ensure that our living environment supports safe movement while being comforting and familiar, not trying to have you live in an empty box at home, but you'll by alleviating these stressors, that can escalate into unfortunate outcomes. And let's talk about what that what that looks like. I'm going to start with the positives. This top picture and this picture over here to the left, I put into my search, LVT, luxury vinyl tile. We have engineered hardwoods in here, but when my husband and I did a renovation to our primary bath a couple years ago, I did put LVT, luxury vinyl tile, in there. Why? Number one, it's easy to keep clean. I don't know if anyone has it. When I work with my professional builders and architects and designers, I always suggest, please get LVT in there. It is just from an operations perspective, when you have carpeting in hallways where residents are starting to have continence issues and movement issues in a professional setting, the maintenance department, or the housekeeping department, all they're doing is cleaning stains up out of every piece of carpeting and fabric in the place sometimes, you know what I mean? I'm just keeping it real. So what we want to do from an operations perspective in a long-term setting, we want easy to clean surfaces. From a home-like setting, we want easy to navigate surfaces. So if I have a walker, if I have a rollator, which is the wheels, with the little basket on it. If I have a wheelchair, I can still navigate through my living environment when I have smooth, unfettered. Notice how on all three surfaces I'm showing you here, what's missing? Anyone want to, I don't know if you can say out loud, maybe. Right, say it again. Let's say it for the people in the back. What'd you say?
Rugs.
Exactly. That's why I'm showing this picture first. There are no rugs here because so not only did I select these for that reason, that these are smooth surfaces, but there's no impediments that my walker or my shuffle gait of my aging husband, who it is perfectly intact. Ladies, we need to know, everyone needs to know, adult children, as men age in general, they could be perfectly mentally intact, but they get more of a shuffle gait. It is one of the first things that happens for men as they age. Doesn't mean that they have dementia. It just means that that's part of their aging process. You'll see, and as a wife, it's like if I'm with my husband and he like trips over the entry rug the last 3 times we come home with groceries in our hand, guess what? Instead of scolding him, I need to say, you know what? This might be a slight change of condition. He clearly he can't get over this, this rug. Let's pull it up so that we can live here for 10 more years without a fall risk happening. You follow me? I like this picture. This isn't LVT. This is more a stone or a tile, but the reason I show this particular stone or tile is because they're larger. There's grout lines here, yes, but it's also from this picture, it appears very smooth. So it's a good, well laid, sometimes tiles on floors are, especially when they're handmade tiles, that's all the rage in new builds sometimes. And they have variances in it's not a smooth flat. There's variances in the tile. And then if they're smaller tiles and there's a lot of grout, you're adding that. For me, I see disaster. I know it's pretty. I know it can be in house and garden, but I know it's a disaster if there's movement issues where mobility devices are necessary. So again, think long term. Here we go, where of course I'm going to show you the worst case examples, right? But these are especially these two, very shaggy, high pile carpeting. I like the wood below it. But this is a disaster. You know, from again, I would live like this. I would probably buy this rug, but not if I had a husband or myself with a walker, my husband with a shuffle gait, and me with a rollator. Yeah, this is a disaster. This is a hip break waiting to happen. Same over here. This actually, it's hard to tell on this, but because obviously I pulled it off the internet, but this actually is a three-dimensional. This pile is high, but these grooves are elevated from the black between them. I hope that makes sense. So this is a textured high pile. This is a total disaster. Over here on this picture, you can see, and apologies if people are listening, they're not watching, but you have a kitchen, a tiled kitchen, which in and of itself wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't hate this floor if it was everywhere, but not only, look at the transition. We're going to talk more about transitions. Look at the transition from kitchen, oops, excuse me, from kitchen to this. And so both of these floors independent of each other are fine, but it's this transition that's a knee break waiting to happen. Can everybody agree with me on that? I mean, it's fine if if you're all aging well, but if you want to age safely in place, here's a fall hazard. This is a dangerous dynamic, and you want to address these situations before the fall happens. I hope we can all agree on that. Here's some examples. Again, it's hard to find. I wanted to talk about the transitions just from room to room, space to space. This is again, I give this a thumbs up on this picture up here in the upper left, partly because I like that it's still smooth. You definitely have two different flooring. Let's just pretend that this where my cursor is and where the thumb is a LVT, and the other one on the other side of this transition is an LVT. There is a possibility this could be either laid stone. Steve, you might even have a stronger opinion on this, but they actually do make LVT, so it's smooth, even though this transitional piece looks like it's laid tile, if you will. You know what I'm talking about, Steve?
Yes.
And I do believe this is LVT that is made to look like a quote unquote tile. So this transition, although there's three things going on, number one, it's still smooth, and there's not a variance in massive amounts of differentiation. Yes, this gray is slightly lighter than this blue gray, but from a visual perspective, because remember, there's going to be visual impairment that happens as people age as well. This isn't shocking to the eye necessarily. These floorings, again, this one will focus on the most. This one up here with the white, the big red X. This is a bathroom, which is of course small tile. Okay, in and of itself, it wouldn't be bad, but now to get from the bathroom into the bedroom, this is actually like, I mean, oh my God, it's not it's not a 90 degree, but it might as well be. As I was looking at this, I thought about all of our elders who are, excuse me, this is the bedroom side of it, where the carpeting is. This is a relatively high textured carpeting. Let's say I get out of the bed like my dad did 3 times a night during his dementia journey, like clockwork. And you get out of here, and now with my rollator, which he had, I'm trying to get from the carpeting after I've been asleep, so I'm already waking up in a certain kind of way, and I have to get up this little incline into the tiled bathroom. Yeah, this is a face plant waiting to happen. This is what leads you to the hospital. This is what then puts you in the hospital, and then other things happen. And there are people that these are where the injuries from falls are so easily avoided. I hope we can all agree. Not easy. You're going to have to make changes to houses like this, but making a change, doing something different and investing on this, dropping 5 or 10 grand on investing in changing out the flooring is better than the 10 grand a month you will be paying if you try to go, possibly, if you try to go to a long-term setting. I'm just going to slide over these for all the reasons. Awful. It's not that I wouldn't have, truthfully, I would have this black and white tile in my front entryway. But again, it's very busy. It's not that it's not flat, it's a flat surface. But with visual impairment, cognitive issues, again, in the other episodes I've done with Steve, I talk about how detrimental it is for those that legitimately have a dementia diagnosis to have black pattern in any shape form on the floor. Again, you can go back and listen to those. This is hard to see on this picture, but this area rug up here, it's one of those like puffy, not only is it a very busy pattern, but it's actually, it's hard to see here, but it's not a super flat. It's kind of an elevated, so not a good area rug for 1,000 different reasons. I just hope you can all understand that. Now, as we move forward, we just got done. This is the same slide I shared earlier, and I had an arrow pointing to the movement challenge. Now we're going to move forward and we're going to address things in the environment from visual decline, how these different aging concerns can be impacted in your environment when these things start to become compromised. I am in a professional setting, in a home setting. You can never have enough natural light. You want aging bodies in general, but you for sure now, if I can focus on people with cognitive decline due to a diagnosed dementia, you want them to have day-night orientation. When you want to be able, and there's a whole host of reasons as to why different dementias, you have like Lewy body. My dad was up in the middle of the night, trying to get places, having no clue it's 3 o'clock in the morning because of course the shades are closed. So we need, but there's so many ways that you can help coax the living environment by keeping the shades and the curtains open. Even on a rainy day in Seattle, I still want the shades open because it is a differentiation for those that are just struggling to figure out what's going on in their day due to their cognitive decline, understanding that it's either daytime or nighttime outside. And it also helps their circadian rhythm. When it starts to become nighttime, when I'm starting to get my dad ready for bed at 8:30, let's say, I do close the curtains. I do start to shut the light. We're preparing the person with cognitive decline who needs our help for rest time, for nighttime. I like this picture of the dining room. Not only do I love the natural light in here on this top upper one, but I love they've got sconces on the walls, and they also have a nice, it could be dim lighting, but for the conversation, if this is good, robust overhead over the dining table lighting, love all of this because another place where we need, now again, we're talking about dementia specifically, another place where we need our friends, our loved ones, those that we serve living with dementia to be successful is at mealtime. And we need them to be able to see what's on the plate, to be energized by the outdoors. It helps with, it just helps all around. So you want good task lighting. Even if your windows you don't have this much lighting in all your windows, you still have good task lighting, overhead lighting, night lights. Let's move ahead. Let's talk about that. Excuse me. All three of these are considered night lights. I just presented different, and not your quintessential night lights that you turn on and off with a switch. These are all movement related night lights, whether it's in the ceiling. I have these in my mom's place right now. We had it with my dad. I always encourage people that are building professional settings, let's throw a couple extra bucks in it and have movement lights in the hallways. What for those residents that you serve that pay $10,000 a month who are going to get up in the middle of the night and walk down the hall? Let's have movement light. This is such an easy fix. It's not cost prohibitive, especially in a home setting. When people are getting up, even aging bodies without cognitive decline, remember the bathroom is the number one place for those falls in the over 65 and older crowd. Let's give them half a fighting chance when they enter the bathroom. The motion light goes on. Right there, those little simple fixes, you can help create a better, safer, nurturing environment for those that you're serving. Time of day and wayfinding. Wayfinding isn't going to be as big of a thing in a home setting. I put this up for my professional providers. Time of day, I have a love-hate relationship from a professional setting and even in general. On the front end of a dementia journey, now again, we're talking about dementia-specific support here in this situation. On the front end, especially if my loved one is just diagnosed with cognitive decline, they had to retire from their job at 61 because of, or 67, let's just say, let's put them into the not young onset, the older 67, they retired, they would have worked till 80 if we'd let them, but cognitive decline was an issue. Still on the front end of the journey, you're going to want people to know what time of day it is. You can just do a regular analog. I noticed that older aging bodies, my mom, I have both in her room right now. She can still tell time. She's 96. We talked about my mom. She can still tell time with this good old fashioned numbers and a wall mounted clock, as opposed to her digital. She doesn't even look at the digital, and it doesn't even register with her. So again, remember, especially when there's cognitive decline, people go back in their mind to how they used to know things originally. Wayfinding for my professional providers, if you're a designer, we don't do a good job with this. This is a huge pain point in long-term living settings where they put little, abstract art that's an 8 by 10, or long hallways with just beige walls. Ugh, it's a disaster for our friends that live in long-term living that need to know when I get off the elevator, I look for the number 3, I turn left, and I walk down this hallway where the green trees are. These are I might not remember what day of the week it is, but muscle memory tells me that I look for these visual cues in my environment to help me navigate that environment. These are skill sets that can be so useful to our friends that we care for in long-term settings. And likewise over here, I'm not a huge fan of the abstract art, but why I use this is I like the size of it. And when I'm working with designers, no photograph in the whole place should be under 24 by 36. I want things larger because it's visually more impactful for those that need those visual cues in their environment to navigate their environment successfully. And again, for the most part, I'm talking here for professional providers. So again, this is something you can, this is just kind of a recap. You can look at these in the post-op, things that we just talked about. Here we go. And I am going to go a few minutes over, but and here's the statistic. I've already alerted to it. 80% of all senior falls. Remember that one fall every second of every day, 80% of that over the age of 65 is happening in the bathroom. This is exactly where my journey for my dad began as well. This is when we hit our downward slopes. Again, I've talked about it in past, but the bathroom is the most problematic area in really any of our homes, quite frankly, but especially for aging bodies, that the floors are wet. There's no help on the toilets, and rising and sitting on the toilet with no assistance. And I'm have cognitive decline. I've got visual impairment. It's hard. And these are such easy fixes. Let's talk about it. Listen, I know, especially my boomers, bless my boomer consumers, they don't want to have anything around them that makes them feel or look old. Okay, that's your choice. But I'm here to help you to say, first of all, this is an elevated toilet. Let's look at this picture. And the grab bars, I hate when you go to an airport or whatever, how often are you going to the bathroom when the grab bar is behind you? That makes absolutely no sense. If I'm sitting as a woman on the toilet, I'm going to fall forward. I'm not going to, that grab bar on the wall behind makes no sense. So once again, our world is not aging friendly or dementia friendly. I like grab bars on both sides. You can use your own body weight to push up and to guide yourself to sit down, okay? In a situation like this. This is a shower. I learned this when I took my universal design classes with Steve. He took us to it. I was back when we used to do stuff in person, and we did our session in the universal design session with Steve Hoffacker, where they showed us in the showroom where we were about the grab bars around the shower handle. This is a shower. Think about it when you're in the shower and you're giving a shower, the person is standing in the shower, and how cool is it for them to hold, if they're my dad, to hold on to this while I might be assisting him from in the shower. Or if I can do this myself, but I can still hold on, and with my other hand, I can soap up my body. This is a much more natural, organic way for you to have a grab bar, is where you are physically positioned while you're doing your tasks. And here again, we lose sight of the toilet bowl, the toilet paper holder. This is a grab bar. So it's functional to get your toilet paper off, but it's sturdy enough mounted into the wall where I could use this as a way to stand up as well. Again, just more examples. Absolutely, absolutely want people to have grab bars. I think all professional settings should have it. I think it makes no sense. I know OSHA tells you one thing, but if you want to have people move into your long-term care settings, this is the type of support that you should be giving people. And these are super easy fixes for us to do and implement in a home setting, if that's what you're trying to do. And as we move towards the end here, and I see that Debbie Howard is on here. She is a person that is a colleague of mine that has done the bulk of her work career in the age sector, has happened in the Japanese market. We don't have you could go down an entire, like I did getting ready for this, rabbit hole about the innovation that is happening simply with toilets. And I know it's not a sexy conversation, but I've always liked a wall mount, partly because regardless, these are all smart devices, but wall mount, because if I'm trying, I prefer it to be a wall mount. I don't know if my previous one, yeah, these are not both a wall mount with handles on both sides, partly because sometimes to move yourself up, your feet helps to go underneath. But the other thing is, and I'll leave you with this. There are toilets with bidet features now, night lights. What a treat to be able to have that open. They motion sensors that would open with a night light guiding me as I go into a darkened bedroom, as I'm waking up as an older adult a darkened bathroom from my bedroom in the middle of the night, because I go to the bathroom twice a night. Yes, it's going to be more expensive. Um, Heated seats for my cold weather people. It helps make the experience a little more pleasant. But the other thing, this last one, this has become a thing. I even see people, there's an Israeli company that is doing stool samples. I didn't want to freak people out because I don't know everybody. But the urine analysis, I am an endorser of. Think about this. We talked about the UTIs. We talk about the dehydration. This is for able-bodied people, but aging bodies have issues staying hydrated. And there are toilets now, you all. Yes, they might be expensive, but if you can avoid a hospital stay that leads to a whole other wealth of complications, there are toilets that can give you a heads up again, I'm not a scientist, I didn't learn it, I didn't invent it, but they have urine analysis capability that can alert the user of the toilet that there is something wrong in the compound of their urine, and that they should probably be checked out for potential UTI. You get in front of that, or other diseases, by the way. Again, and there for a different price point, here is just a toilet cover. So if you don't want the full-blown whole shebang with the toilet itself, this is a cover it could be mounted on to an existing commode. So please understand, these are things that make no mistake, if I can do this, I would get one of these smart toilets, because I am a risk adverse person. I'm aging and I want to age at home. And I sure as heck don't want to see the inside of hospitals, especially in the world we live in now. I'd rather solve my own problems, remotely if I can. Again, just me. That's a person. Not telling other people what to do. I'm here to share options for you all. Outdoor spaces, for sure, for my professional providers. The outdoor spaces, they might have a patio with a couple chairs on it. We do an awful job, for the most part, in professional long-term care settings. For my people that are trying to age in place, let's have some usable outdoor space, which means you might have to change. Grandma might have been able to, this is probably a bad example because this woman is on grass, but if this was on a patio, because grandma has some, she wants to age in place, we want to help her. She's been a gardener, she can't dig in the garden. We can get a couple of raised beds, we can modify it. We want people to have outdoor opportunities. Y'all, these are pictures that I'm telling these are in other countries. We lag behind in America on creating adult elder playgrounds. These are all examples of Australia's doing this. I know Japan is doing this, and Asian countries are doing this. We should have this. Why? Because maybe this would be somewhat more enticing if I'm a 70-year-old boomer that only retired, a year ago, and I want to travel, and I move into your independent living, but I can do this when but you have this equipment, and then I can leave and I can travel with my significant other. But we have options. The bingo days are over, y'all. We want people to stay active, right? We want them to get outside. I think these elder playgrounds, we are already a decade behind. I'm hopeful that people who do want to continue to build long-term living environments, you got to start adding this type of stuff to it, and make the outdoors as usable as your indoor spaces. So again, just also as we get ready to close here, we just know that there's health benefits from being outside for all of us, obviously. It makes no sense to me how the outside experience in long-term settings are an afterthought, especially in memory support settings. That should be the one place. We need it everywhere, but you shouldn't have it on the assisted living or the independent living side, bocce ball and all of this. And my friends living with dementia, they're locked up inside and they can't even get out onto the back porch because it's not safe. You know, it's insanity to me. We would elongate their lives if we had better usable outdoor space. In the essence of time, I'm sadly going to have to skip this story, but this is one of my residents that was, we created an outdoor space in a professional setting. He was a former farmer. I got called to this building in Texas. There's a whole beautiful story that I always share with my professional providers who always want to give pushback because we cleared bushes from this area of a secured, you can see the pathway. This was a secured patio off of the memory support that he lived in. This team worked with me. This was my solution. We need Jim, the former farmer, to have reasons to not try to jump out the windows of our building. And this is what Jim was able to plant. This was a Texan in the Houston market who was a farmer his entire life and a former member of the military. And God bless that executive director and the employees of that community. They listened to me. They encouraged, they helped to facilitate the purchase. They went with him. He went with them rather to buy what he wanted to plant. This became Jim's garden. That is a man living with, he's no longer with us, a man living with dementia. And this was what, again, you guys, you can look at how amazing. You don't get dementia, and you don't die the next day. If you do, you're dying of something else. I will just also talk about from a holistic perspective in living environments, lose the toxic chemical cleaners. I am a person that believes in essential oils. I can do a whole presentation on holistic health in terms of the noxious toxic sprays that we have, all of us are enduring as we live. It's not good for people with cognitive, not good for any of us, but definitely not good for people that need their neurons, not disrupted by neurotoxicity. This is just something I will tell you. There's other ways to keep a nurturing environment for our friends living with dementia. These are, again, for them. A sound machine. Not only do I pull the shades at night, I keep the room is a comfortable temperature for my loved one. But if they don't fall asleep quickly, maybe a sound machine will help. I will tell you this thing over here. I actually have this with my 96-year-old mother. This is a heated, weighted massaging heating pad. We got ours from Sharper Image. I have one. My mother loves that. When I get her ready for bed, when I am there, she sits in a recliner. I put this sometimes on her shoulders, on her back. Sometimes I've been putting it on her legs recently because she's got some edema. And it's just she thinks she's gone to like the best spa the world has ever presented to her, and she's sitting in her own bedroom with this on it. These are other just little tips and tricks to make a nurturing, little holistic things to calm people down, to help them navigate, at any time of the day. And I leave you with this. Have you hugged a caregiver today? Whether you are a caregiver, whether you will be one, you all deserve a hug. And I thank you very, very much always. I know I've gone over. You'll get these slides. Feel free right now to take a picture of your screen. That's my website in the upper left side. And then I'm on LinkedIn, and then my website address is there as well. I hope you'll stay in touch. If I can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, Steve, anything else I need to know?
No, that's great. Anybody have any questions? You can always reach out to Ellen. You can catch her two earlier presentations plus this one on my YouTube channel. Some of them, the most current one's going to be on the website also. Any questions at all? Any comments for Ellen? Or you can reach out to her directly. There's her information.
That was awesome, Ellen. This is my second session with you, and I've enjoyed both tremendously.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, again, Steve, I know that you and we're working on stuff always, and I know that this won't be the last time I speak to your tribe, but
no, I think we'll have you back too. I'd like to get your presentation on the natural oils and so on, because that's not a topic that's frequently gone into. So we'll have you back towards the end of the year on that if you're available.
Certainly.
Okay.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. It's not a problem. Well, I appreciate the opportunity again, everybody. I also just know that I am adding some things to my own personal website where we're going to do some online learning. I remember on the front end, I did say that I am a caregiver, but I am balancing care and career as best as I can. while I nurture my mom's life journey. But so that's another reason I invite you to kind of pay attention to what I'm doing. Even if you bookmark my website and check in every couple, weeks or whatever, we are behind the scenes. I am building a community where we're going to have online learning stuff. I might even post this. I'll just do it again, and it can become evergreen on my own site as well. So I have a lot of content, and I just need to get it into digital form, so that people can consume my content. You don't need me to be present for you to consume my content. So stay tuned and as I like to say, keep your eye on, keep in mind, there's always
All
something
right.
going on.
Terrific. Thanks everyone for giving us a part of your day, and for Ellen sharing with us. So until next time, appreciate it. Have a great day.